Broadcasting. We're on so you can be. Georgia Power, a Southern company.
For over a decade, General Motors has been the sole corporate sponsor of the films of Ken Burns. We're proud of our association with Ken Burns and PBS. It's all part of GM's commitment to share the American experience through quality television programming.
Major funding was also provided by the Pew Charitable Trusts, the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and biannual financial support from viewers like you. Additional support was provided by the William T. Kemper Foundation, the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, and by Montana, where scenes of visionary enchantment can still be discovered.
For over a decade, General Motors has been the sole corporate sponsor of the films of Ken Burns. We're proud of our association with Ken Burns and PBS. It's all part of GM's commitment to share the American experience through quality television programming.
Major funding was also provided by the Pew Charitable Trusts, the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and biannual financial support from viewers like you. Additional support was provided by the William T. Kemper Foundation, the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, and by Montana, where scenes of visionary enchantment can still be discovered.
We are PBS.
In ancient times, the Israelites were conquered again and again. No people in history were more likely to be forgotten. But these were the people of the book of Abraham and David and Moses.
You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal.
And against all odds, they would have as much impact on history as any empire that ever existed.
Next Thursday night at 8 on PBA 30.
Next time on Ken Burns' American Stories, Lewis and Clark continue into unmapped territory.
Every single day it was something new.
And face a brutal test of survival in the wilderness.
Men all wet, cold, and hungry.
But the gravest danger comes from within.
Lewis disintegrated. He fell apart.
The conclusion of Lewis and Clark on the next Ken Burns' American Stories.
Coming up next on PBA 30.
I don't think there is such a thing as a good war. There are sometimes necessary wars. And I think one might say just wars. And that I never questioned the necessity of that war, and I still do not question it.
It was on one of my very early missions that I first knew I had killed men. And I remember the impact it had on me when I could see my bullets just tearing into them, and I was doing it knowing I had to do it, that it was my job.
The real war involves getting down there and killing people and being killed yourself or just barely escaping. And it gives you attitudes about life and death that are unobtainable anywhere else.
And we had started losing boys in the neighborhood. The boy up here on the corner was a Navy pilot. He was killed. The boy down the street was an Air Force pilot, and he was missing in action. It was a very, very fearful time.
not normal. And I'd like to remain that way. I like being different.
Most hearing people think that deaf people live in a silent world, and that all of them want to be cured.
There always will be a need for people who are not deaf to understand deaf people.
I don't want to wake up and suddenly say, I can hear. That's not my dream.
But have they seen the world through deaf eyes?
I'm used to the way I am. I don't want to change it. Why would I ever want to change it? Because I'm used to it. I'm happy.
Monday night at 9 on PBA 30.
The first law of nations resembles the Geneva Agreement. You cannot kill women and children. If your enemy sues for peace, make peace.
We believed in our religion. We tried our best to establish this Islamic society.
You can excommunicate another Muslim and justify his murder. Anybody could be killed.
Those individuals return to their home countries, forming their own terrorist groups. You had them in Algeria, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. This was a big problem.
What we said was that we would bring a large force, and when it was over with, we would leave.
All Muslims know that the Prophet said there should be no infidel presence on this peninsula. So it's a very powerful motivating factor.
They should be aware what it means to be Muslim in this godforsaken country.
People in the West think simple. They think if I have my house, my beer, and my television, everything is good. The whole world can drop dead.
Allahu Akbar. She's right what she's saying, but sometimes the truth doesn't go too well with people.
You call me the devil in disguise.
Yes.
Do you not think that's hateful speech?
No, it's not hateful.
No? Okay, so what? Freedom of speech.
There were reports of people in uniform performing attacks.
The militia issue was always that ticking time bomb. My greatest fear is that what we're doing is equipping Iraqis for civil war.
There's a caricature of neoconservative thinking in which they are portrayed as imperialist, wishing to dominate. It's all rubbish, of course.
I did not favor the regime of Saddam Hussein, but the cost, wherever you intervene, you create disasters.
It is a war you cannot win. No one has ever won it, and we're not going to win it.
It's not easy, but when barbarism and despotism threaten, I believe we must challenge them firmly and bravely.
People just don't get it. I mean, what do you say to someone who hasn't been there? You know, where do I even start?
If you're going to be for Afghanistan or for Iraq, then you should understand that you're asking other people to go 7,000 miles and fight people with very different views of civilization and fight them to the death.
I didn't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to go bring freedom. Your life was, I'm going to have to get in that Humvee or that tank and roll out there and not die.
You shouldn't be able to spend a year out there and come home like nothing ever happened. It should affect you, and it did affect us.
What I encountered with a company of Marines was a deeper sense of brotherhood and camaraderie than I have never felt before.
I can't even describe how different my life is from my friends back home.
The thing that keeps me going is every day I love them just a little bit more.
Coming April 22nd on PBA 30. Join us for a night of nature with Can Animals Predict Disaster? The Dolphin Defender. And Shark Mountain. Tuesday, starting at 8 on PBA 30.
It's about families. It's about memories. It's about hugging a pet, the feeling you get knowing you belong. It's about big days, parties and birthdays. It's about cousins and more, hugs galore, wherever love is strong. Come on, let's grow. Come on, let's grow. Come on, let's grow. Now it's Sprout.
Weekend marks the 140th anniversary of the Battle of Atlanta. Much of the Battle of Atlanta happened where we're standing today.
The hill right there is
the neighborhoods within the Council District 5 worked to make sure that we had a myriad of events that would commemorate that time. It was just a wonderful representation of what makes this community so vibrant and strong. The smiles around me are just so contagious. You can expect to have a lot of fun. You can also expect to be educated.
Through going to the actual battle over there.
The Battle of Atlanta happened July the 22nd in 1864. The Confederates tried to outflank the Union forces and actually attack where they were dug in over here in East Atlanta. So that's what caused the battle to be fought here. Of course, it was very hot, very much like it is today. And these men were in wool uniforms, and you can just imagine what the battle must have been like. And escalated from a fairly simple skirmish up to really bloody warfare. And 12,000 died here in an afternoon.
The commemoration of the historical value of what happened in this community will help as we stake out our claim in Atlanta to say we're a great place to visit, we're a great place to live, and we want to be proud of what has happened here, and we're so hopeful for our future. The task force that is working on this plans on continuing this certainly through the 150th anniversary, 10 years out. Something really monumental happened here. We're not ashamed of it. We're not afraid of it. We claim it for the historical benefits that we are so proud of.
Elvis Live in Concert reunites Elvis back on stage with his original backup singers and band members. In commemoration of the 25 years since his passing, this magnificent concert event took place at the Pyramid Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee.
Saturday at 4:30 on PBA 30.
Next time on Ken Burns' American Stories, Lewis and Clark continue into unmapped territory.
Every single day was something new.
And face a brutal test of survival in the wilderness.
Men all wet, cold, and hungry.
But the gravest danger comes from within.
Lewis disintegrated. He fell apart.